voting process, we will do one round of the ideal scenario, and then we will also give alternative scenarios that could unfold at a polling station. This is our polling station. As you can see, voters will arrive from this end. When they arrive, we have election officials. I am the presiding officer, the person in charge of this polling station. I have a deputy presiding officer who will deputize me in this process. And we have polling clerks who also support the presiding officer to carry out a number of processes. The first clerk has the KIMS device for voter identification. It has the voter identification technology. The next set of clerks have specific roles. Clerk number 2 has the printed register of voters. And then the next 3 clerks will issue ballot papers to the voters according to the elective positions. Clerk number 3 will issue the ballot paper for the presidential election and for the member of National Assembly election. Clerk number 4 will issue ballot paper for county assembly election and also for the Senate election. And then clerk number 5 will issue for the county woman member to the National Assembly and the gubernatorial election ballot papers for the governor election. We have an observer. We also have agents here and the media who are also by law allowed to be at the polling station. Then here we have the polling booth. This is where voters will mark their ballots and then they will cast them into the box. If you look at the 2 boxes, you can realize that one is higher than the other. Normal people with a normal height will use this one. Short stature people or persons on a wheelchair may use the shorter booth so that it suits their specific needs. Then here we have 6 ballot boxes, each for the elective position. We have the presidential ballot box with a white lid. This white lid matches the color of the ballot paper for the presidential election, which is white. The member of National Assembly ballot box has a green lid, which matches the color of the ballot paper for the member of National Assembly election. Member of County Assembly has a beige lid, matching the color of the ballot paper for this election. The Senate election has a yellow lid, which matches the color of the ballot paper for the Senate election, which is yellow. And then for the woman member of National Assembly, it has a purple lid, and the ballot paper equally is purple in color. And then finally, we have the blue lid for the governor election ballot box, whose ballot paper is also blue. Now, we shall go through the voting process. We have our voters here. So the first voter comes in. Make sure you have your original identification document, the one you used to register as a voter. He issues it to the clerk, who looks at the ID and the face of the person before her to see whether it is the person. He's asking the voter to display his hands to check for evidence of prior voting. He is placing his finger on the KIMS device for identification. He's been positively identified, so he's asked to proceed to the next clerk, the clerk with the printed register of voters. He will call out the name loudly. Then the clerk will cross out the details of the voter on the register except the voter's number. Then he passes the ID to the next clerk and the voter moves to the next clerk, where he'll now be issued with 2 ballot papers, one for the presidential election and the other one for the member of National Assembly. Notice the color of the ballot papers, white and green respectively. They'll be folded vertically once. It is stamped at the back by the clerk before it is issued to the voter. The voter proceeds to the next clerk, where he is issued with another pair of ballot papers for member of county assembly and the senator elections. They will also be folded vertically once. And issued to the voter. The ID is also passed to the next clerk. A voter must be issued and receive 6 ballot papers, 1 for each of the 6 elections. Yeah, he's receiving his last. He proceeds to the polling booth to mark the 6 ballots. There's a pen in the polling booth that he will use to mark. The booth has been placed in such a manner that as the PO, I'm able to see that he's not going to do anything fishy other than mark his ballot papers, but also allowing him his privacy to mark his ballots in secrecy. Now he proceeds to the booth, to the ballot boxes to cast. Starts with the presidential, white in color, goes into the box with a white lid. Proceeds to the member of National Assembly, green ballot paper with a box with green lid. Member of a county assembly, beige with a beige. Proceeds to the Senate election, yellow with yellow. Proceeds to the county woman member, purple with purple. And proceeds to the governor election, blue with blue. He is then marked on his left small finger with indelible ink and is asked to leave the polling station. Thank you, mzee, kwa kupiga kura. Uende nyumbani, ungoje matokeo. Mbona mko wawili? Hawezi kuona. Karibu. Patia kitambulisho chako, na hata wewe msaidizi peana kitambulisho chako pia. So they have come, 2 of them. One has a challenge with her sight, so she has come with her own assistant to help her to vote. The law allows that if a voter comes with their own assistant, then they'll be allowed to vote. The voter will be checked on the printed register normally by clerk number 2. Their details will be crossed out. Now, before they are issued with the ballot papers, I must do one very important legal requirement. The assistant must be of the age of majority, must have an ID card, doesn't have to be a registered voter. Then I will ask the assistant to fill this form. It's called Declaration of Secrecy form by a person assisting a voter. So that, because she will know for which candidate this voter has voted for, she must maintain the secrecy of that choice for the rest of her life. So she must sign this declaration of secrecy. Now they can proceed and receive ballot papers. The law requires that an assistant can only assist one person in the election. So you will notice that after they have voted, the voter will be marked, the assistant will also be marked, so that she cannot come back to assist another voter. And because this voter has come with her own assistant, we will allow them to go to the booth without our interference to mark and then cast the ballot accordingly. Are you a voter?
Yes.
You need to be identified first. You've been identified?
Yes.
Perfect. So both the assistant and the voter will get their ballot papers because they are both voters in this polling station. Security officer, maintain order. Only one voter to come in at a time. Well-spaced, observe COVID-19 protocols. 1.5 meters between voters. So 2 ballot papers, one for each. Thank you. So they proceed to the booth to mark their ballot papers accordingly. They are allowed to do it in private. Now, even if the voter is being assisted, if they are able to put the ballot paper themselves, then that is how they should put in their ballot papers. But if they are unable, because maybe of a physical impairment, then they'll be assisted to put that ballot paper in the box. And because this particular voter has a seeing problem, then they might be assisted to put the ballot paper in the box. But some are allowed to fill and put, they can do so. I think there's enough space now. The next voter can come in. Next voter can come in. We will also want to simulate a voter. Deputy Presiding Officer, please help them to put their ballot papers properly. We also want to simulate a voter who is unable to vote on their own, but they have not come with their assistant. So we have a voter here who cannot vote on her own. She doesn't have an assistant. We'll see how that is done as well. So you can see the voter is being assisted to put the ballot paper herself by the assistant. Now, when they have finished, the voter will be marked on the small left-hand finger as normal. The assistant will be marked on their thumb and the small finger as well, because she has voted and she has also assisted. So she'll leave with 2 marks. One on the small finger for having voted, another one on the thumb for having assisted, so that she can come back to assist another voter. So, asante sana mama, muite na watoto wenu pia wakuje. Yes, sir.
How do I do this?
You need help?
Yes, please.
This voter needs to be assisted, but he doesn't have his own assistant. So I'm going to invite agents to witness, at least 2 agents from opposing parties to come and witness. Agents, this voter is unable to read and write, so he cannot be able to vote on his own. So we are going to assist him to vote. He'll show us, tell us which candidate he wants to vote for. And mzee, unajua kuandika mwenyewe?
Si nzuri sana.
Wacha nikusaidie kuandika. Unataka nani kwa hii president?
Huyu.
Huyu? Agents, have you seen that mark for that voter?
Yeah.
Okay. Chukua hii ya mbunge. Unataka nani?
Huyu.
Agents, mnaona? Huyo. Hii ya MCA unataka nani?
Hapa.
Huyu. Agents, mnaona? Hiyo. Hii ya senator unataka nani?
Huyu ndio mtu wangu.
Huyu ndio mtu wako. Agents, mnaona? Ndio hiyo. Hii ya mama mbunge unataka gani?
Na wawili.
Wawili? Unaweza pigia mmoja tu. Kwa sasa.
Okay.
Huyu. Agents, mmeona hii? Haya. Na hii ya governor unataka nani?
Governor.
Utaki hawa?
Yeah.
Utapigia yote.
Kuna mwingine?
Wewe ndio unachukua.
Okay. Bas hapa.
Hapa. Agents, umeona hiyo? Asante. Sasa utachukua hizi kura zako. Utaenda kwa masanduku pale.
Okay.
Na utaweka. Agents, tafadhali mrudi kwa viti zenu. Thank you, agents. So he proceeds to the boxes. Mzee, utaweka kulingana na rangi ya ballot paper na kifuniko cha sanduku la kupigia kura. Hakikisha zimeenda kulingana na rangi yake. Kama uko na shida utaniambia nikusaidie kuweka kwa sanduku la sawa.
Sasa hii na hii.
Hapana, hii ni pale mwisho.
Okay.
Chukua hii hapa. Hii ndio hapa. Ndio. DPO msaidie. Mpigaji kura mwingine tafadhali. Naona huyu ni mjamzito na mmemwacha asimame. Mngemwacha apite paka mbele, asisimame sana. Mama mjamzito mnamruhusu aingie mbele. Asante. So this voter is expectant, heavily expectant. We give them priority voting so that they are able to come in. Pardon? You are unable to identify?
So I have to do the name.
You've not been able to?
Yes, it's not
Yes. These voters, biometrics have not properly identified her. So we are going to use the complementary mechanism for identifying her. So we will use her ID number as alphanumeric search to see whether the device will produce her details.
I'm still unable to see.
You are unable to see her? Okay. Now, if we are able to do that, before you proceed to the register, we will do one small thing. We will take a picture of you holding your ID card using the device. Then I will authenticate with my fingerprint that I've taken her image, and then she will proceed to the printed register. Check out. Kasioka? Please proceed. So she's been identified on the printed register, but we've also taken her image. She proceeds. If we had not found her details at this level, and on the printed register she's not found, then this voter will not vote. She will go home. Because whatever is in that device, if the alpha search does not bring out the details, then this voter is not registered. Because what we have in the printed register and the device, they're exactly the same register. But because we found her details, she's able to proceed to vote. Now, because her biometrics did not identify her, we've taken her image to make sure that we cannot have an imposter vote, because we have her image taken on the device. So she proceeds to vote normally. Please, next voter. Askari, shikilia huyu mtu. Hebu tafadhali askari, kidogo tu. You've seen a rowdy voter being handled by the security officers. Now, if I assess him and see that although he's a little bit tipsy but he can vote, I may allow him to be given priority voting so that he votes and goes home. He doesn't become a nuisance to the other voters. But if he's so much unruly, he will be put aside until he sobers up. We still have all the way to 5. By 5 p.m. you'll have sobered up. We'll allow him to come again and vote. Now, in order to have a faster flow of voters, once a voter receives ballot papers here, the next one can come for identification. Once a voter starts receiving ballot papers, the next one can come for identification, so that we have a smooth flow of voters at our polling station. Now, at every 2-hour intervals, as a presiding officer, I will be sending updates to the returning officer on voter turnout. We send an update at 9 a.m. on how many people have voted, how many are registered in this polling station, and we compute the percentage voter turnout, and we send that report to the returning officer. We do it at 9, we do it at 11, we do it at 1, we do it at 3, and finally we do it at 5. Iko shida gani mzee?
Mimi nimesahau ID yangu.
Umesahau kitambulisho yako? Itabidi urudi nyumbani ukachukue. Ilipotea jana. Basi nenda utafute tu. Tunafunga kituo saa 11. Ukiweza kupata kitambulisho kabla hiyo saa, kimbia hapa. Utaruhusiwa kupiga kura. Pole sana mzee. Nenda utafute kitambulisho chako.
Hapana, kwa sababu niko hapa, mimi nilikuwa registered hapa.
Lete kitambulisho, hiyo ni sheria inataka ulete kitambulisho, tukutambue kwamba ni wewe, alafu tukuruhusu. Bado uko na masaa mzee. Si uko na wajukuu, unaonekana uko na wajukuu wengi sana. Waambie wakusaidie kutafuta kitambulisho, alafu urudi. Asante sana mzee. Cameraman, kuna mmoja anataka kupiga kura? Please join them. Take ballot papers and vote. It's free for all voters, provided you are registered here. Okay. So once he's receiving ballot papers, the next one can come for identification so that we have a smooth flow of voters in the polling station. Yes. Tulia kidogo. Sasa ngoja kidogo mpigaji kura. Umeweka alama kwa hizi zingine? Na umeweka alama hii ya rais. Sasa kuja ni kuonyeshe vile utafanya. Weka hiyo ya rais hapa kwa sanduku. DPO msaidie kuweka hizi zingine kwa masanduku yake. Haina shida mzee, weka tu, lazima zirudi kwa masanduku yake. Sio hiyo, sio hapo. Hapana. Hii hapa, weka hii. Now this voter wanted to vote for only one election. So he wanted to give back the remaining 5 ballot papers to the presiding officer. But the law does not allow that. We cannot have them open here. So we ask them to put them in the respective ballot boxes so that at the end of it, we are able to account for every ballot paper. But because they are not marked, during the count, those ballot papers will be rejected. But at least we are able to account for every ballot paper that has been issued to that voter. We have a problem here? Yes, what's the problem?
He says that he only wants...
Askari, please rudisha hao wengine nyuma. Tunataka waingie mmoja mmoja. Rudi nyuma tuingie mmoja mmoja. We cannot crowd a polling station. Yes, tuje mmoja mmoja, one at a time. Yes. Tutakupigia deputy president. Deputy president ameunganishwa na presidential candidate. Kwa hivyo utachukua hiyo ya rais, utaona ndani deputy president, utaona ndani president candidate. Kwa hivyo chukua tu. This voter wanted to vote for the deputy president. Since it's a joint ticket, the ballot paper has both the details of the candidate